There is one exact moment when wealth begins to flow into your life. Not when you get a raise, not when you land a big opportunity, not when the market improves or the economy gets better. Wealth begins a precise moment you take 100% responsibility for everything in your life. Napoleon Hill discovered this after studying over 500 of the wealthiest people in America. Every single one of them had a defining moment where they stopped blaming, stopped making excuses, stopped waiting for circumstances to change, and took complete ownership of their results. And that moment, that shift in consciousness, was a turning point that opened the floodgates of abundance. Today, you're going to understand exactly why this is true and how to make this shift in your own life, starting right now. Before we go deeper, I need you to make a powerful declaration. If you're ready to stop being a victim and start being creator, if you're ready to take your power back, type in the comments, "I am responsible for my wealth." These 6 words will change your neural pathway. They will signal to your subconscious mind that you are no longer waiting to be rescued. You are the rescuer. Pause this video, go to the comments, type, "I am responsible for my wealth," and then continue watching. And if this message is already hitting home, subscribe to this channel, activate that notification bell so you don't miss any transformational content, and leave your like. Share this video with someone who's ready to step into their financial power. When you share wisdom, you multiply the effect in your own life. Now, let's dive into the truth that will set you financially free. Here's what Napoleon Hill discovered that shocked him. Poor people and wealthy people live in completely different universes, not because of their bank accounts, but because of their relationship with responsibility. Poor people see themselves as victims of circumstances. The economy is bad. Their boss is unfair. They didn't have the right opportunity. Their parents didn't teach them about money. The system is rigged. They weren't born rich. They don't have connection. On and on and on. An endless list of reasons why wealth is not their fault, and therefore not their responsibility. And here's the trap. Every time you blame something outside of yourself for your financial situation, you give away your power. You're saying, "My wealth is determined by factors I cannot control." And if you cannot control it, you cannot change it. You become a leaf in the wind, blown around by circumstances, hoping that one day the wind will blow you toward money. That's not how wealth works. Wealthy people, on the other hand, operate from a completely different paradigm. They take 100% responsibility for their results, not 50%, not 80%, not 99%, 100%. If they're not making enough money, they don't blame the economy. They ask, "What am I doing or not doing that's creating this result?" If they lose money, they don't blame bad luck. They ask, "What can I learn from this? How can I make better decisions?" If an opportunity doesn't work out, they don't blame the other person. They ask, "How can I create the next opportunity?" Do you see the difference? One mindset gives power away. The other mindset claims power. And Napoleon Hill proved beyond any doubt that wealth flows to those who claim power over their circumstances, not to those who surrender power to their circumstances. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but there are real obstacles. There is real inequality. There are real systems that make it harder for some people. And yes, that's true. Napoleon Hill never denied that external factors exist. But here's what he understood that changed everything. You can acknowledge external factors without giving them power over your internal state. You can recognize that something is difficult without deciding that it's impossible. The moment you take full responsibility is not the moment you deny that challenges exist. It's the moment you decide that regardless of what exists, you will find a way. You will create a path. You will generate solutions. You will overcome. This is not positive thinking. This is power thinking. This is the difference between saying it's hard for people like me to get ahead and saying it's hard for people like me to get ahead, and I'm going to be one of the ones who does it anyway. One statement is a victim mentality. The other is a victim mentality. And only victors create wealth. So let's get very practical. What does taking full responsibility actually look like? First, it means you stop blaming anyone or anything for where you are financially. Not the government, not your employer, not your parents, not your education, not your past, not the rich, not the system, not bad luck, not timing. Nobody, nothing. You take ownership. I am where I am because of the choices I've made, the actions I've taken, and the thoughts I've held consistently. Now, this might feel harsh. You might be thinking, but I really did have unfair disadvantages. Maybe you did. But Napoleon Hill studied people who came from nothing, from slavery, from poverty, from discrimination, from unimaginable hardship, and still built fortunes. How? They refuse to let their starting point determine their ending point. They took responsibility not for what happened to them, but for what they would do about it. And that's the key distinction. Responsibility is not about blame. It's about power. When you blame, you're focused on the past, on what went wrong, on whose fault it is. When you take responsibility, you're focused on the future, on what you can do, on how you can change things. Blame looks backward and keeps you stuck. Responsibility looks forward and sets you free. Second, taking full responsibility means you stop waiting for someone else to change your situation. You're not waiting for your boss to give you a raise. You're creating additional income streams. You're not waiting for the perfect opportunity to appear. You're creating opportunities through your actions. You're not waiting for someone to discover your talent. You're marketing yourself, networking, building your brand. You're not waiting for the economy to improve. You're improving your skills, your value, your offerings. Napoleon Hill called this taking the initiative. Successful people are initiators, not waiters. They make things happen. They don't wait for things to happen. And here's what's powerful. The moment you stop waiting and start initiating, you tap into a universal law that Napoleon Hill wrote about extensively. The law of cause and effect. You become a cause, not an effect. Most people live as effects. They're responding to what happens to them. Successful people live as causes. They make things happen that others respond to. When you take full responsibility, you shift from being an effect to being a cause, and causes create wealth. Third, taking full responsibility means you stop making excuses. And let me be very clear, excuses are the enemy of wealth. Every excuse you make is a brick in the wall that separates you from abundance. I don't have time. I don't have money to invest. I don't know the right people. I'm too old. I'm too young. I don't have the education. I have too many responsibilities. Every single one of these excuses might have some truth to it, but they're still excuses. Because for every excuse you can make, there's someone who had that same limitation and succeeded anyway. Napoleon Hill proved it. He found millionaires who started with no money. He found successful people who had no formal education. He found wealthy individuals who started at 50, 60, even 70 years old. He found titans of industry who came to America not speaking English, with nothing but the clothes on their backs. What did they have that excuse makers don't have? They had a refusal to let limitations define them. They had a commitment to find solutions instead of focusing on problems. They had 100% responsibility consciousness. And here's something crucial. Your subconscious mind is always listening to you. When you make an excuse, even a valid one, your subconscious hears it as a command. I don't have time becomes an instruction to your subconscious to keep you busy with unimportant things, so you never have time for wealth building. I don't know the right people becomes an instruction to your subconscious to keep you isolated from valuable connections. Your excuses are literally programming your subconscious to keep you exactly where you are. Napoleon Hill taught that your subconscious mind is extraordinarily powerful. It controls your habits, your actions, your perceptions, your opportunities, and it takes instructions from your conscious thoughts and words. So when you replace excuses with responsibility, you're reprogramming your subconscious for success. Instead of, I don't have time, you say, I will make time for what truly matters. Instead of, I don't have money to invest, you say, I will create money to invest. Instead of, I don't know the right people, you say, I will meet the right people. Do you feel the difference? The second set of statements gives instructions to your subconscious to solve problems, to create solutions, to find ways. And your subconscious will obey. It will start noticing opportunities. It will start connecting dots. It will start guiding you to people, information, and circumstances that align with your new instruction. But this only works when you take full responsibility. Fourth, taking full responsibility means you accept that your current financial situation is a perfect reflection of your current consciousness. This is deep. Napoleon Hill taught that you cannot have a millionaire bank account with a poverty consciousness. You cannot have abundant results with scarcity thinking. Your outer world will always mirror your inner world. So if you look at your finances right now and you're not satisfied, don't blame the numbers. The numbers are just symptoms. The cause is your consciousness, your beliefs, your habitual thoughts about money. And when you take responsibility for your consciousness, when you commit to transforming it, your financial reality must change. It's law. Most people try to change their financial situation by working harder at the same level of consciousness. They put in more hours. They hustle more. They grind. And they wonder why they're still struggling. It's because they're trying to solve an internal problem with external action. Napoleon Hill proved that it doesn't work that way. You must first change internally. You must shift your consciousness from poverty to wealth. You must reprogram your beliefs about what's possible for you. You must raise your self-image to match the financial level you desire. And then the external actions you take will be different, more effective, more aligned, and the results will follow. So taking responsibility means looking in the mirror and saying, if my finances aren't where I want them to be, it's because my financial consciousness isn't where it needs to be, and I take full responsibility for upgrading it. Fifth, taking full responsibility means you stop comparing yourself to others and competing with them. This is subtle but powerful. When you compare yourself to others, you're essentially saying, my success depends on how I measure up to them. That's giving away your power. Your success has nothing to do with anyone else's success. Napoleon Hill taught about the abundance mindset versus the scarcity mindset. Scarcity says, there's only so much to go around. If they have more, I have less. Abundance says, there's unlimited wealth available. Their success doesn't diminish my opportunities. When you operate from scarcity, you're threatened by other people's wealth. You feel jealous, resentful, competitive, and those emotions block your own wealth. But when you take full responsibility and embrace abundance, you're inspired by other people's wealth. You see it as proof of what's possible. You study how they did it. You let their success expand your vision of what you can achieve. And paradoxically, this attracts more wealth to you because you're vibrating at the frequency of abundance, not scarcity. 6. Taking full responsibility means you view every setback as feedback, not failure. Napoleon Hill studied people who went bankrupt multiple times before achieving lasting wealth. He studied people who failed in business after business before finding their winning formula. He studied people who lost everything and rebuilt bigger than before. What separated them from people who failed once and quit? They took responsibility for failure. They didn't blame circumstances. They didn't see themselves as victims. They asked, what can I learn from this? What did I do wrong? What will I do differently next time? And then they applied those lessons and tried again. Failure only becomes permanent when you refuse to take responsibility for it. When you blame, you learn nothing. When you take responsibility, you extract wisdom. And that wisdom becomes a foundation for your next attempt, which has a much higher chance of success. So when something goes wrong financially, your response should not be, why does this always happen to me? Or, I knew it wouldn't work. Your response should be, what is this teaching me? How is this redirecting me? What do I need to adjust? Napoleon Hill called this turning adversity into advantage. Every setback contains a seed of an equal or greater benefit. But you only find that seed when you take responsibility for the setback instead of wallowing in blame and self-pity. 7th, and this is massive, taking full responsibility means you stop waiting to feel ready and you start acting now. Most people procrastinate on wealth building because they don't feel ready. They don't feel smart enough, prepared enough, confident enough. So they wait. They consume more information. They take more courses. They wait for a sign. They wait to feel ready. But here's what Napoleon Hill discovered. You don't feel ready and then act. You act and then feel ready. Action creates confidence. Action creates clarity. Action creates momentum. When you take responsibility, you realize that waiting is just another way of giving away your power. You're saying, I'll create wealth when I feel more confident. But confidence doesn't come before action. It comes from action. So you act despite the fear. You start despite the uncertainty. You move despite not having all the answers. And as you move, you gain the confidence, the knowledge, the resources you thought you needed before starting. This is the paradox of responsibility. You take responsibility for creating the very things you think you need in order to take responsibility. You don't wait for circumstances to be perfect. You take responsibility for making them perfect through your actions. Now, here's where this gets really powerful. Napoleon Hill discovered something that most people miss. Taking full responsibility is not just a mental shift. It's a spiritual shift. When you take 100% responsibility for your life, you're aligning yourself with the creative power of the universe. You're saying, I am a co-creator with God. I am not a victim of circumstances. I am a creator of circumstances. And when you step into that identity, when you truly embody that consciousness, you tap into infinite intelligence. Napoleon Hill wrote extensively about infinite intelligence. He described it as a universal mind, the source of all creativity, all solutions, all abundance. And he proved that individuals who connected with infinite intelligence achieved things that seemed impossible. But you can only connect with infinite intelligence when you take responsibility. Why? Because infinite intelligence responds to those who act, not those who wait. It responds to those who seek solutions, not those who focus on problems. It responds to those who claim their power, not those who give it away. Think about it this way. If you believe your wealth is determined by the economy, why would infinite intelligence send you solutions? You've already decided the economy is in control, not you. But if you take responsibility and say, regardless of the economy, I will create wealth, now you're in a position to receive infinite intelligence. Now you're open. Now you're a co-creator. And solutions, ideas, opportunities begin flowing to you. Napoleon Hill called this the principle of applied faith. Faith is not passive hoping. Faith is active expectation combined with action. When you take full responsibility, you're exercising faith. You're saying, I don't know exactly how it will happen, but I take responsibility for making it happen. And I trust that as I act, the universe will support me. And it does, every single time. Not always in the way you expect. Not always on your timeline, but always in a way that serves your highest good. This is why blame and victimhood are so dangerous. They disconnect you from infinite intelligence. They put you at the mercy of circumstances. They close the channels through which abundance flows. But responsibility opens those channels wide. So let's get very practical. How do you make this shift today? How do you move from wherever you are on the responsibility spectrum to 100% responsibility? First, do a brutal honesty audit. Write down every excuse you've made for your current financial situation, every person you blamed, every circumstance you pointed to as the reason you're not wealthy yet. Write it all down. And then, next to each excuse, write the responsibility version. For example, excuse, I don't earn enough at my job. Responsibility, I have not created additional income streams or positioned myself for higher pay. Excuse, I didn't learn about money growing up. Responsibility, I have not prioritized financial education as an adult. Excuse, the cost of living is too high. Responsibility, I have not maximized my income or minimized unnecessary expenses. This exercise will be uncomfortable. You want to fend your excuses. Don't. Just write the responsibility version and feel the shift in power. When you reframe from excuse to responsibility, you immediately see solutions. The excuse makes you powerless. The responsibility statement empowers you. Second, make a decision right now that you will no longer speak in victim language. Ever. Listen to yourself talk about money. Listen to how you describe your situation. Are you using language that gives away power? I can't afford it. I never have enough. They won't let me. It's impossible for someone like me. Every time you catch yourself using victim language, stop mid-sentence if you have to, and rephrase in responsibility language. I haven't created the ability to afford it yet. I am learning to manage money more effectively. I will find a way regardless of obstacles. I am creating possibilities. At first, this will feel forced. That's okay. You're reprogramming years or even decades of victim conditioning. But if you do this consistently, within weeks, responsibility language will become natural. And when your language changes, your thoughts change. When your thoughts change, your actions change. When your actions change, your results change. Third, identify one area of your finances where you've been blaming circumstances and take one action today that demonstrates responsibility. Maybe you've been blaming your job for not paying enough. Action. Update your resume and apply for higher paying positions, or start a side business, or learn a high income skill. Maybe you've been blaming the economy for your investments not performing. Action. Educate yourself on different investment strategies, or consult with a financial advisor. Maybe you've been blaming lack of knowledge for not starting a business. Action. Find a mentor, join an entrepreneur group, or take a business course. The specific action doesn't matter as much as the shift it represents. You're moving from blame to responsibility, from waiting to creating, from victim to victor, and that movement creates momentum. Napoleon Hill taught that momentum is one of the most powerful forces in achievement. A body in motion tend to stay in motion. When you take one responsible action, it becomes easier to take the next one, and the next, and soon you're unstoppable. Fourth, surround yourself with people who operate from responsibility consciousness. Napoleon Hill's mastermind principle is crucial here. You become like the people you associate with. If your friends are constantly complaining about the economy, blaming the government, making excuses for why they can't get ahead, their victim mentality will infect you. Even if you're trying to be responsible, constant exposure to victim consciousness will pull you back. But if you surround yourself with people who take ownership, who create solutions, who refuse to make excuses, their responsibility consciousness will reinforce yours. You'll hear them talk about challenges as opportunities. You'll see them act despite obstacles. You'll watch them create results through pure determination, and you'll rise to that level. So audit your relationships. Who are the 5 people you spend the most time with? Are they operating from victim consciousness or responsibility consciousness? This doesn't mean you need to cut everyone out of your life, but it does mean you need to be intentional about whose voice has the most influence on you. Spend more time with responsibility takers. Consume content from responsibility takers. Join communities of responsibility takers. And watch how fast your financial reality shifts. 5th, practice radical ownership in small things to build a muscle for big things. You don't go from victim consciousness to 100% responsibility overnight. It's a muscle that needs to be developed. So practice with small things. If you're late for a meeting, don't blame traffic. Take responsibility. I should have left earlier. If you forget something, don't blame being busy. Take responsibility. I need to improve my system. If a project doesn't turn out well, don't blame lack of resource. Take responsibility. I could have been more creative with what I had. These seem like small things, but they're training your brain. Every time you take responsibility for a small thing, you're strengthening the neural pathways of responsibility. You're building the habit. You're creating the identity of someone who owns their results. And that identity, once fully formed, will transform your relationship with money. Because money flows to those who take responsibility for creating it, managing it, multiplying it. 6th, understand that taking full responsibility is not about being perfect. It's about being accountable. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have setbacks. Things won't always go as planned. But the difference is how you respond. The responsible person says, I made a mistake. Here's what I learned. Here's what I'll do differently. The victim says, it wasn't my fault. The circumstances were against me. One leads to growth. The other leads to stagnation. So give yourself grace when you mess up, but always take responsibility for the mess up and the cleanup. Napoleon Hill studied people who failed more times than most people even try. But they succeeded because they took responsibility for their failures and used them as stepping stones. And 7th, make this declaration every single morning. I am 100% responsible for my financial reality. Everything I have or don't have is a result of my choices. I claim my power to create wealth today. Say it out loud. Say it with conviction. Say it even if you don't fully believe it yet. Napoleon Hill taught that auto-suggestion, repeatedly telling yourself something, eventually impresses it upon your subconscious mind. And once your subconscious accepts it as truth, it will guide all your actions to align with it. So every morning, declare your responsibility. Every morning, claim your power. Every morning, set the intention to be a creator, not a victim. And watch how your days begin to unfold differently. You'll notice opportunities you used to miss. You'll have ideas you never had before. You'll take actions you used to avoid. You'll connect with people who can help you. Why? Because you've activated the law of attraction through responsibility. Like attracts like. When you take responsibility, you attract people and circumstances that resonate with responsibility. When you operate as a creator, you attract creative opportunities. When you claim your power, the universe responds by giving you more power. This is not mysticism. This is law. Napoleon Hill proved it scientifically by studying hundreds of successful people. They all took full responsibility, and they all created wealth as a direct result. Now, I want to address something important. Some of you might be thinking, this sounds like you're saying everything is my fault. No, that's not what responsibility means. Fault implies judgment and blame. Responsibility implies power and choice. You're not at fault for circumstances you didn't choose, but you are responsible for how you respond to those circumstances. You're not at fault if you were born into poverty, but you are responsible for whether you stay in poverty. You're not at fault if you weren't taught about money, but you are responsible for learning about it now. You're not at fault if an economic crisis impacts you, but you are responsible for how you navigate it and what you build on the other side. Napoleon Hill distinguished between fault and responsibility. Fault looks backward and assigns blame. Responsibility looks forward and creates solutions. Wealthy people focus on responsibility, not fault, and that focus is what creates wealth. So if you've been living in victim consciousness, this is not about making you feel guilty. This is about showing you the path to freedom. Because as long as you believe your wealth is controlled by external factors, you're trapped. But the moment you take full responsibility, you're free. Free to create, free to build, free to succeed regardless of circumstances. Here's my challenge to you. For the next 30 days, operate from 100% responsibility. No excuses, no blame, no victim language. For every financial challenge you face, ask, what is my responsibility here? What can I do? How can I create a solution? And then do it. Journal your experience. Notice what changes. Notice how you feel different. Notice opportunities that appear. Notice people who show up. Notice ideas that come to you. I guarantee that 30 days from now, if you truly commit to this, your financial situation will have shifted. Maybe not dramatically yet, but you'll see movement. You'll see evidence. You'll see possibilities you couldn't see before. And that evidence will fuel your faith. That faith will drive more responsible action. And more responsible action will create more wealth. This is the upward spiral of prosperity. And it all begins with responsibility. If this message has awakened something in you, if you feel that shift happening right now, go to the comments and type, I am responsible for my wealth. Declare it publicly, make it real, and then share this video with someone who needs to hear this. Someone who's stuck in victim mode. Someone who's blaming circumstances. Someone who's waiting to be rescued. You could change their life by sharing this one message. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell for more content that will transform your relationship with money. Leave your like. It helps more people find this message. You were created to be wealthy. You were designed to prosper. You were given the power to create abundance. But you must claim that power. You must take responsibility. You must stop waiting and start creating. Napoleon Hill spent his entire life proving that wealth is available to anyone who understands and applies specific principles. And the first, most fundamental principle is this. Wealth begins the moment you take full responsibility, not partial responsibility. Not responsibility for some things and blame for others. Total, complete, 100% responsibility for every aspect of your financial reality. When you do that, when you truly embody that, everything changes. The universe recognizes you as a creator and begins to support your creation. Infinite intelligence flows through you, bringing ideas and opportunities. The law of attraction brings people and resources that match your responsible vibration. Your subconscious mind aligns all your habits and actions with wealth creation, and wealth begins to flow. Not someday, not eventually, now, today, in this moment, the moment you take full responsibility. So take it right now, make the decision, commit fully, and step into the wealth that has been waiting for you all along. You've got this. The power is yours. The responsibility is yours. The wealth is yours. Claim it.